She fell on her face and she looked crazy. Her name was Christina, and around 12 or 13, kids were playing this game where they would hold you up against the wall, they would squeeze right here until you lightly passed out, and then someone was supposed to catch you. And after they coaxed her into playing the game, none of her friends did. So this left her with the bruises that I was now staring at when I saw her walking home in the morning. I think it was spring break. She told me what happened. I could tell immediately that she wasn't just embarrassed, that she was hurt. She was disappointed that none of her friends had caught her, and essentially, she was evaluating how she felt about that and what she would do about that. Before today, I had never been in a space where I had to be empathetic with the girl. And you can imagine around this age that boys and girls only deal with the simple emotions. I either like you or I don't like you. So this was my first time with nuanced feelings that I would explore with a girl. Before I could really ask any questions to expand on these feelings, a man comes out of nowhere over my left shoulder and punches her in the arm, which spins her around 180, and they just keep walking off in that direction. She doesn't even look back, but the man does, and I can tell two things immediately. One, he is pissed, and two, that's her daddy. Now, this brings me to my first point. A precedent was set that day of what we were supposed to be to each other. And since we weren't old enough to be involved romantically, we could absolutely be nothing. And this is enforced by movies, media, toys, this program that says that there could be no third space for the opposite sex friendship. I was a boy, which by definition meant I only had sex in my mind. And even though I had never seen porn and had no idea what the female anatomy was like, instead of experiencing empathy for the opposite sex, I now felt guilty that I had gotten her into trouble. Trouble that she would not have wound up in if I was a girl. This affected me in subtle but immediate ways. I became hyper aware of all the adults that were ever in the room anytime I was with a girl by myself. And what I also picked up on was that if it did look like romance, it was always my fault somehow, some way, because I was the male. I was the one with the corrupted thoughts. Now, it is important for me to mention that I was definitely attracted to Christina. However, I never let my emotions or my behaviors be altered as a result of that attraction. And this brings me to the biggest point in my journaling session. I had a homegirl in college who just got it. We connected on a level that was rare, same sense of humor, same wavelengths. But then she asked me a question that played on the border of our friendship. And in that moment, I panicked. And I failed both of us. I made a joke, a deflection, a rude one. And she was hurt, rightfully so, because I was aware that this was a very delicate subject. I was not sure I had the language to express what I was trying to avoid, but I did not want to poison our friendship by entertaining the topic because the truthful answers had the potential to. But because I was rude, she was hurt. And it wasn't until I cleared up what I wanted to actually say that we were able to move forward with the friendship. And that experience taught me this brutal truth. The greatest threat to opposite sex friendships isn't attraction, it's our indoctrination. We are taught that deep kinship must be chemistry, and that chemistry must be romance. We are never taught how to just let a beautiful connection be. But to overcome it, we must be brave enough to have the awkward conversation. The same conversation we're told to avoid, we must be humble enough to apologize when we get the language wrong, and we must be intentional enough to choose the friendship again and again over the predictable plot. We are trying to fight against a society that hyperfixates on romance or nothing. We are handing roles to the opposite sex for positions they are not trying to fill. When you interact with the opposite sex, your initial thoughts should not be, do they check off any of your romantic boxes, while you completely neglect the possibility of friendship. With society Being the way that it is now, men's value is tied up in utility, valued only for what we provide, and women become commodities prized only for what they offer. And without friendship to humanize us and paint a vivid picture of who you are actually looking at, we reduce each other to these caricatures where men are either lovers or threats, and a woman is a prize or an obstacle. We never get to have some of the harder conversations. Women misunderstand that they don't feel protected because protection is transactional, not tribal. In the same way that you pay taxes to officers to protect you, the currency between men and women, so it seems, is value. Men are not taught the value of women outside of romance, let alone to protect someone who doesn't even value us as people. That means that outside of romance, men and women are complete strangers. And not only is this a pitfall in our society, it's unnatural. We move through this life on this earth engaging mostly with our own gender, and we call this normal. We call this safe, but it is quiet starvation. It is a fact that the opposite sex holds a different kind of magic, a humor that could disarm you, a perspective that can solve a problem that you might have been circling for years, a way of being that you desperately need to witness. But we've been sold this lie. We are told that this magic is only accessible through romance. And let me be clear, the magic is not romance, the magic is them. When people tell you what they love about their spouse, it is almost always about discovery, something they see in someone different from them that allows them to accept something about themselves or the reality around them. That safe space that people credit to romance, it's often just the human beauty of being fully seen and valued, which is not exclusive to romance at all. It is fully available in friendship. We have taken the entire spectrum of human connection and squeezed it into this small box called romance. And in doing so, we have lost the value of each other. This has never been about blaming the man or blaming the woman, and always been about a collective loss that we can fault to the society that handed us this narrative. We have traded the power of pure connection for a fragile script of romance, and this is what we are all suffering from. So, I have to ask, are you happy with this? Are you content with this quiet distance that we are experiencing? Because it is showing up in our society in ways that are very obvious. Because I see what we're missing, and it absolutely sucks. There's a lot of topics I didn't get to cover in this journal session. What does it look like when the opposite sex friendship is achieved? What does it look like when you have an opposite sex friendship and you're in a committed relationship? These are all things that are very, very, very interesting to unpack. But I'm sure you'll let me know if you're interested. Just like, comment, and subscribe, and we can unpack this all day.